Hey everybody, welcome to TST Garage. I'm Bart. Today I will be demonstrating the procedure for the installation of the TST Industries Nexus signals on a Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle. These signals fit many modern Kawasaki Ninja models. We do have a complete listing on our website of which models they fit. If this video is not of your motorcycle, chances are we already have the installation instructions for your model as well. So check that out on our YouTube channel. I won't get too detailed on the description of this technology. We do have a separate video covering all the nuances and specs, and we dive a little deeper into how this was designed, what the motif was, and all of that stuff. So that link will be provided to you in the description of this video. Hopefully you'll follow that and check out some more specs. What you see here is the right-hand signal. It is designated right. The left-hand signal is designated left for ease of installation. These are plug and play, so no fuss there. You unplug the OEM unit, you plug this in, you're good to go. The physical installation is also through the means of replacement of OEM parts. The same exact procedure that you would use to replace, let's say, a crashed up OEM component mounts this in your bike. Now in this video, we will show you the exact procedure step by step for how to mount this on your bike. So hopefully you'll follow along and find this easy enough and get these things mounted on your bike. Let's get started. All right, on this particular bike, we are presented with two different methods that we could possibly employ to install our Nexus signals. One method is the first one that we're gonna show you, is the minimally invasive flow, where we take out the inner scoop components and we will get in from the inside here and disassemble the OEM signals, their brackets, their screws, unplug them, and then work in the reverse order of that. The one issue I have with that is basically I can't show you precisely exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to do our best, and then we're going to employ some B-roll footage that we've gotten from the longer method to show you the detail of what I'm doing in there. So between those two different shots, you will be able to put together what I'm doing and be able to replicate that on your bike. The second method is vastly longer. It requires the removal of all these front fairings. It has to do with disconnecting some of your electrical equipment and your AIS equipment. And the only reason why we're leaving it in this video is that some people may get frustrated with the lack of access here and decide to go further and remove some fairings. And we want to get you guys all the steps necessary for your success. So first method's gonna be shorter, follow along. If that's not good enough for you, if you're getting frustrated, jump on over to the second method, and that will give you a little bit more access and set you up for success. Now, I do encourage you guys to watch through both flows before you start doing anything on your bike, and then just back up to the flow that you've chosen. That is usually how I do things if I'm just researching and about to start something. Knowing the steps before you perform them is very, very powerful. All right, let's get started with the first method. So the first step here will involve the removal of the inner shroud here in the scoop area. This does break down into two components at the center. This is held in via 9 push type fasteners. The locations are here, 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 and then symmetrical locations about the middle plane of the bike here, and here and here. So 9 total. We'll count them as we remove them. And then we also have 2 locations here and here where there is wiring up top in a cable management retainer that is pushed in through this area. This first step here will be to push on this upwards and pull on the wiring from behind. So if you see my finger here, I'm up top behind the headlight, grabbing that wiring. I'm gonna push up and just mush it around a little bit till it pops out. Just have to be gentle so you don't hurt the retaining method. Repeat the step on this side. Again, my finger right here next to this. And it's as easy as that. For the push pins to release, you have to push in the center and then pry them out. I'll quickly illustrate how that works. This is a lock push pin. Push the center in, that unlocks it. You withdraw it, place it in this position for reinsertion. All right, let's go down the line, count 9 of them. Two, 3. Four, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. Okay, now off the bike, I will show you how they build together. So you can see here, we have 2 sliding features that slide together. And then this forward location has an outer and an inner part. And this is how they get in there. And our fastener locations are here, 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 and same on the opposite side. So once you knock all that stuff out, this comes out and we're ready to go. All right, next, we will have to unplug the signal here. I'm starting with the right signal on the bike, going up the line here, up the cable. The plug for this signal is contained within this boot. We're gonna peel back on the boot and find this gray connector here. It does have a tab here that you press on to release it. I find it much easier just to jam a little tiny flathead screwdriver under the lock. That makes it fuss-free for me. Once that's done, I'm gonna snake back the wiring. There is a little hole through this foam piece that the plug has to fit through. And now we're ready to remove some screws. Here I'm using a magnetic Phillips screwdriver. This helps me not lose the screws within here. You can possibly make do with a regular one, but I highly recommend using a magnetic screwdriver. Now, as I turn this last bottom screw out, I will be supporting the signal lamp so that it doesn't drop off. I'm also going to be supporting this black bracket that comes off with it. Now we've extracted this off the bike. Quick note. This is the configuration of the bracket on top of our lamp here. Bracket goes on top of these tabs, and this location's here, and you have your wire going through this wire management clip. All right, so here I grabbed the Nexus signal that is designated right. I've also extracted the bracket off the assembly that we just took apart. I'm going to position this bracket like so. And notice we have cable management clip that provides some strain relief on this wire. Just goes under and over and through the clip. And now these holes from the bracket align with the body of the signal. Now we can start reinstallation. I'm going to start with this hole because that affords me the ability to install all of this and make it self-captive. And it's just very easy to see through the hole in the signal well. So I could actually align it very simply and get it started by hand. And at this point I can just go to subsequent screws instead of getting a tool in there. And I believe the top one here will also let me start the thread by hand. And before I get too far here, I have to make sure that I'm not creating any gaps between the signal and the bodywork. Everything's looking good. 2 screws self-captive in there. I'm gonna go for the third, see if I can do it by hand. And in fact, I was able to get it started by hand. So since I'm on the lowest screw, I'm gonna grab my screwdriver and go right back in there and get that tightened up. And then just go up the line to the next screw. And finally this top screw here. Everything's bottomed out, so now we can snake this wire back in through that little hole in the foam piece that we found in the disassembly. Once that gets to the top, we'll just connect it to that gray connector we found in a prior step. And now we can actually power up the bike and test it. There we go. All right, so we do have light function, but as you can see, it is flashing a little bit faster than the OEM rate of 85 cycles per minute. This is because we've replaced an OEM incandescent light bulb setup with an LED type lamp, and that just draws less current, and the bike is not set up for that. If you want to remedy this situation, we do sell our Gen 2 flasher relay. That is a plug and play component, goes under the seat. We do have a separate video showing you how to install this part on this bike, and also how to adjust it should you want to change the flash rate yourself. And there's the ability to slip off this cap and micro adjust the flash rate to your liking. We won't bore you with that right now. This is a Nexus signal installation. We will just tidy things up here, make them ready for reinstallation of the scoop area at the very end, and we'll move on over to the left side of the bike and perform this same exact steps over there. Now let's reassemble the inner shrouds on the scoop. I'll show you guys how they assemble together. They do have these slide locks, and the left component on the bike goes over the right component here. You can see that this is completed. This geometry is continuous. If you guys have it backwards, that just won't fit on the bike very well. So make sure you have this right. And here, I'm gonna use a trick I have. I'm gonna use some painter's tape to hold this together for myself as I perform the reinstallation. It just makes it a little bit less cumbersome. Here I'm going to go to the bottom location first, get it in place. In the mid location, for one of these push fasteners is actually on that black bracket that was held on with the lamp. Now, with our Nexus Signals, this is going to be sort of a tight connection, so you have to make sure that you get that seated just right. Make sure that it actually hooks in there. Once you find that you've actually inserted the body of that push pin into its receiver, you can make sure that it's locked in. Okay, and that completes the reinstallation of our 9 push pins. We can withdraw, we can remove the blue painter's tape, and now we'll have to push those Christmas tree type fastener cable management clips back in. So from up top, I'm just grabbing just upstream of that boot where the plug is for the signal. This feature has to get pushed in through this hole here. It's pretty simple. There it is. Same concept here. I found that feature here. Push it in through this location. And that's pretty much it. Okay, first step. Let's remove these 2 push fasteners here. To do that, we will press in their centers. And then pry away from the surface. This is the type of fastener that when it sits with the head flush in the main body, it's locked. You press it in, it unlocks, lets you withdraw it. Then you push it all the way through back like this, and that resets it ready for reinsertion. This step will enable us to split these 2 panels, and ultimately when all the fasteners are out, we'll be able to take the entire front section off. All right, 4mm Allen. We'll now remove this fastener here. And now we'll be able to dislodge the clipping features from up front here. There is a friction fastener right about here that needs to be pried straight out. And then a slide lock here that will need to be pulled back. We do still have 1 push fastener here. It's the same kind of push fastener as down below that was joining these 2 pieces. Once we pull that out, now this slide lock is able to move back and out. This is a sliding feature that fits in the interference window. This is the friction fastener that goes in a rubber grommet here. There is a little tab here that interferes with a feature here. On this particular bike, this has already been broken off, but chances are that on your bike, you'll have to pull up on it and away as you're prying this friction fastener off. 4mm Allen again. We'll remove 3 fasteners here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. These are actually all the same screws, so I don't actually have to keep track of what I'm pulling out. They're all the same type head, same thread spec, same length, so they could go back in arbitrary order. They're in reassembly. All right, once we take these guys out, this panel is now free up front. Now we have to go to the back section here and dislodge this area. I'm gonna get my hand under these 2 fairings here by the split, pull down and out. And then go up the line from inside and dislodge all of these things. There are a number of mushroom head fasteners here that interact with the receiving mushroom head fasteners here. there is a rubber and peg fastener, friction fastener here, and another friction fastener here with an additional interference lock tab that goes under this. So once all of this is dislodged, we push the front section forward and it gets unlocked. It's got one sliding feature that interferes with this window here. So once all this is done, I'm going to hop on over to the right side of the bike and repeat the process there. Okay, now we'll be removing these inner shrouds. This is sort of a clumsy thing to accomplish. We just have to dislodge them and then rotate here in the front section and they come out. Do both sides. Alright, let's first remove the fuse box here. There's a tab right here that we could use a small screwdriver on. Pry it to the side and that releases it. And then we can just leave it hanging in here and move on to the next step. Let's go ahead and take off the connectors from the rectifier now. This gray connector and the black connector below it will need to be taken off. These connectors have tabs right down the center that need to be pressed in, and that unlocks the connector to come off. I'm going to be helping myself with a large flathead screwdriver between the rectifier and the connector. As I press the tab in, the screwdriver will give me some leverage to pull back. These are on there pretty solid because they have a seal, and I do not want to strain the wires by just tugging on the wires, so I oftentimes will use a screwdriver to help myself along. Big connectors, lots of current going through them, so that's why they're a little bit tough to take off. Okay. All right, in this step, we will be removing a number of push fasteners here. They're the same type that you push in the center and pry out. The count should be 9 total fasteners coming out of here. On some of these locations, I won't be able to show you in detail, but basically you guide yourself with one in the front here being the one that joins the 2 panels into the nose, and then there are 4 more on each panel. These come as 2 separate panels here in the scoop. You have 4. Once you extract 4 from each panel, you're good to go. And after getting all 9 of them out, just jiggle the inside scoop plastic and make sure that this tab comes out from the nose pieces. You can push it back. Now we've taken it off completely. We do have some wiring harnesses that are attached to these panels, but the truth is we do not have to take any of this off the bike, so we're just going to leave it hanging and move on to the next step. Now for you guys out there, you do not have to take the windscreen off for this installation. I just took it off because it'll help us show you what we're doing a little bit better. It'll give us access. All right, next step will be to remove your mirrors or mirror block-offs. Whatever the case is on your bike, those need to come out. Now I will be removing another 4mm Allen fastener from this location here. and also the same location on the right side of the bike. And at this point, we will have the freedom of flexing away some of these components here, which will enable us access to some of the connectors on the inside of this panel. Now we'll be removing some connectors from within this boot. You have a boot protecting them against water. You can peel that back, and when you peel it back, you'll discover 3 different connectors here. Some of the wiring is run through this cable management clip here. What I like to do is undo it for this portion. It'll make our life easier for the time being. Okay. Here we have a Sumitomo MTW 110 type connector. Press the center, tab depresses, comes out. Pretty simple. Similar connector here. Press the center, that releases it. Good to go. Now this last one here, you'll see this one's a little bit more difficult to press in. What I like to do is pry up on this side with a small screwdriver, and that usually releases it easier for me. All right, and now that's free. Let's hop on over to the other side. On this side of the bike, we have a similar job to do. There is a boot containing 3 connectors, 2 of which are running, 2 of the wires from those connectors are running through this cable management clip that we could undo. Unfortunately, on this side, we are obscured a little bit more by this charcoal canister, so it'll be a little bit tougher to show you guys, but same concept. All the plugs get unplugged here. And now all these connections are free. We will now need to disconnect this blue connector that handles the solenoid for this charcoal canister system. Press down on the tab, pull it back. If the bike's been sitting for a while, this will be tough to do. So you can push from the front to the back. Hopefully that'll dislodge it. All right, and now we will need to remove some of the hoses that are running from inside of the engine compartment to here. I will have to do this kind of in a blind spot, but once I take these fairings off, I'll show you guys what I did. Now we do have color designations on these hoses. There's a blue one and a green one. I'll show you where they go in just a little bit. Now all of the connectors have been taken off. We could go ahead and remove the last fasteners and take the whole front end bodywork off. Now let's remove this 4mm Allen fastener here on this side, and also same kind of fastener from the identical location on the right side. Now 2 fasteners remain. They are 10mm hex head. I'm going to use a socket to take these off. At this point, I like to support the nose of the fairing set with my body. These are the last 2 fasteners. Don't want to drop this set in case it's loose, so I'm going to support it as I take out the last 2 fasteners, and then I'll pull forward on it. It should come off. If your bike has sat for a while, chances are that the rubber gasketing around the intake port is stuck to the fairings, so in that case it won't be as easy to pull off. I actually had this body set off yesterday, so you guys will notice that this comes off as if it were new from the factory. If after the removal of all these fasteners, it's very, very tough for you to remove this body set, You will have to shimmy it back and forth a little bit to dislodge the friction from the rubber around this port. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, and just have to be careful not to tug on anything here. And now we are free. All right, with the fairings off the bike, we'll be removing these 3 fasteners here. They are Phillips head. We'll also be removing this wire back through this foam piece, and additionally removing it from this cable management clip. I'll do that after I take this bracket off. This bracket actually comes off here after the removal of these screws. So I'll be able to show you this cable management clip here. You basically just pull the wire out, good to go. Now let's get the 3rd Phillips screw. And that's pretty much it here. We'll remove the OEM lamp. We'll grab the left-hand side designated Nexus, put it in place, and go in the reverse order here. I will put our wire through our cable management clip first, making sure I have the proper orientation here. I think I have it memorized. Yep, here we go. Check to make sure everything's lining up good, and in fact it is. Make sure everything is bottomed out here. At this point we can forward this plug and the wiring through the hole in the foam piece, and then we're going to start on the other side. Just have to make sure this is actually routed correctly. None of the wires are kinked or pinched. The foam is fitting around the bracket. Now that's good to go. We'll go to the other side. The right side procedure is exactly the same as on the left. So we'll just cruise right on through. Okay, in preparation for the replacement of this entire assembly on the bike, I want to show you guys which hoses go where, because I'm not going to be able to show you that while I'm doing it. So the green designated hose goes on this empty position on the solenoid, and the blue one goes on the actual canister. Then this plug gets replaced on here, and then I'll be able to show the rest of the steps with detail. In preparation for the reinstallation of that entire assembly that we've taken off, we will take the 10mm hex head screws and poise them here on the tank. Be easy to reach. We're going to move some of this wiring stuff inboard so it doesn't interfere with the insertion of the components around here. And then one thing to note is this is where the front scoop area is going to have to fit over. So this is the first thing that we're targeting on the way in. We're going to have to shimmy it in, fit around the scoop area, and then get the screw holes aligned, get those screws in. Let's do that now. Right now I'm trying to align the scoop front area with the actual scoop on the bike. All right, I got it. Now I'll use these fasteners that I poised for myself. Get those started in here. Now I just have to make sure I have alignment right. All right. Now this should be secure enough to unhand. Just gonna put all of those connectors that I moved inboard more outboard. And now my steering will be unrestricted. I'll be able to move stuff around as I go through the bike and plug everything back in. Now we can potentially put this side back on here with the fastener that came out, just so that we're not flexing these too much. On the other side, however, I still have to replace the hoses, so I will keep that off for now and do the hoses now. Then one more down here. This hose has a catch here somewhere. At this point, I'm going to reconnect all of the connectors that we dislodged on this side, then hop on over to the other side. First, I'll do the rectifier here because it's easiest. Then the 3 connectors that came out of that boot will be reconnected. I will be putting those 2 wires from the headlights into the routing guide, sliding the boot over, then finally replacing the fuse panel here beneath this area. Hop on over to the other side. The only connectors that we took out were the 3 connectors in the boot. I'll do that there, and then we'll proceed to the rest of the reassembly. Before we go any further, now that everything's plugged in, I want to make sure that all the plugged functions are functioning correctly. Also want to test our new signals. And in fact, they are flashing, but if you notice, they are flashing at a rate that is higher than the 85 cycles per minute OEM rate. And this is because we've replaced your OEM incandescent light bulb signals with LED type signals that draw much less current. And that's just a very common symptom of doing so. So to combat that, we have a part called the LED flasher relay. This is relay Gen 2. It's an adjustable part. It's plug and play. We do not include this with signals because a lot of people already have them if they've purchased our taillight. So it's really up to you. There's no electrical damage to come to the parts if they remain flashing fast, but if you do like to slow down your flash rate to the OEM rate, this is a very easy to install way to do so. We do have a separate video showing how to do that. The relay is contained under this panel between the front and rear seat. I'm just gonna throw it in real quick. I'm not gonna go into detail on this video. We'll cut back in after that. All right, we're back. Now we're flashing at a proper flash rate. This is what it's supposed to look like. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall all the other components. From this point forward, it'll be just the reverse order of disassembly. So we'll show what we're doing, but I'm not gonna commentate too much. Let's get started with that. I'm tired. This was a doozy of an install. I think end to end, if I wasn't yapping on video, would probably take me about 45 minutes to an hour. But as you can see, this is a pretty involved installation. So if you're not sure about doing this yourself, please take it to a shop. If you like what you see, you can find it at tstindustries.com. If you're the type of person that needs a direct link, one's been provided for you in the description of this video. I hope you'll come check out these parts and other parts we have for this bike and other bikes you may have in your stable at tstindustries.com. See you there. Thanks for watching.